Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. We are live. I am Mary Grace, and this is Real Talk with Mary Grace. It is Wednesday, the 1st of December. Yes, it's December, almost 2022. And I am coming to you today with a special guest. I'm going to give people a few minutes to come in. I totally forgot on Monday to mention that I was having a special guest today. No reflection on the guest, just a reflection on me being a little bit scatterbrained. And as you're coming in, I just want to ask people to say hello and let me know that you're here. And as usual, please share this and leave a comment and also like and subscribe to the show. Comment by tagging your friends, put this into groups that you belong to, anywhere you can to get the word out. You're not going to want to miss today's show. And if you're coming back on the replay, please do leave a comment. It's great to see everybody. I'm seeing people coming in on YouTube. It may take a few minutes on Facebook. We are live on CloudHub channel 111. We're on Twitter, Real Mary Grace 1, which pushes over to Periscope, I think, and that's Real Mary Grace. And we are also on Telegram, which is Mary Grace Media Official. Make sure that you follow that channel. Looks like people are coming in. Yes, we're giving Advent greetings. This is the Advent season. We are in great expectation of hope, because that is our hope. Jesus is our hope. Emmanuel, God with us. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my guest. I'm very excited about this. I have been teasing a product launch for a couple of weeks now, and some of you guys have actually reached out to me about this. But I have the privilege and the honor today of introducing to you a business partner that I have recently begun to work with. This is Todd Falcone. He is coming from you out on the West Coast, but don't worry, he's one of us. And so Todd is a business coach. He is an entrepreneur. He has spoken and shared his gifts in multiple countries around the world, especially before COVID. And I'm really excited to have him here today because we're going to talk about this launch that I've been telling you of our CBD brand. I'm very excited about this. This is something I've been interested in for a long time. And thank you so much, Todd, for being here. Please just introduce yourself. Give us a little bit of your background, and then we'll go into just talking more about what it is specifically that we're here for today. Welcome, Todd.
Sure, be happy to. Well, good evening or good afternoon, good morning, depending on where people are at. Great to be here. My background, I guess, I don't know how far back I want to go. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 35 years. And in other words, I've never really had a job other than when I was a kid. I never liked somebody telling me what to do or dictating, when I was supposed to work or take a day off or when I could take my vacation. And so when I was very fortunate at the age of 22 to be introduced to just the concept of entrepreneurship, I bit into it hook, line, and sinker, and I've been there ever since. And so for the last 35 years, I've been a self-employed at-home entrepreneur. And the last 16, 17 years, I've taken a lot of time traveling around the world. I've spoken in over 30 countries, teaching the concepts and principles that worked well for me as an at-home entrepreneur. So been an amazing journey, and still on it to this day. And it's great to be here with you. And yeah, I'm on the West Coast, but I'm on the right side of the equation. So that's a good thing. You are muted.
Awesome.
I think you're talking. There you go.
I just unmuted myself. Apologies. I didn't want you to be interrupted. Yeah, that's so awesome. So over 30 countries, and that's exciting. I've been to a lot of countries, not that many. And I look forward to doing more traveling once this insanity abates. I think it will. I think there's a tipping point that will come. But let's get into the nitty gritty here. I want to talk about how what we're here showcasing today. I met you through a mutual friend who has really helped me develop in entrepreneurship and business. And I was very excited when I got the introduction because I've been interested in CBD for a long time. I've heard about it. I knew people who were using it. I just never really took the plunge, mostly because there's so much out there. There's so much information that it's very hard to filter through it. And when it comes to putting something in your body, I just want to be extra careful. And so I was pretty excited to find out about what we have. And so I know that you're not a cultivator, you're not a scientist, but you know a lot about this. And one of the biggest questions that I have is if somebody is going to start taking CBD, what is it that they should look for? What should they expect if they start to use a product like CBD?
It's a pretty broad question. Well, first of all, I'll say this. I think more and more people are looking for natural solutions or alternatives. I think we live in a society, and I will all agree, where big pharma, big companies are constantly pushing things that really aren't natural. I mean, big food and big pharma, and we can get into a whole conversation about that for like the next 3 hours, which I don't have time to do today because I've got other meetings. But I think we're also in a place where people who have whatever situations, and I'm not going to even mention, ailments, specific ailments or situations that people might have, because they're broad and there's too many to list. But if you're dealing with something, for example, and there's and you have a literal pain or a figurative pain, and you're looking to relieve that, what are you reaching for? If you go to a doctor, first thing they're going to do is throw a pill in your face and take this. And most people truly don't want to do that. And the truth is that there are natural options, and this happens to be a really amazing option. What's interesting about this particular compound, CBD cannabidiol, which actually comes from the industrial hemp plant, happens to have again, I want to be careful what I say, because I don't like making product claims, and I think that's something to be careful of. But it just happens to be one of those compounds that if over a variety of different ailments or scenarios that you might be facing, it is a very viable and natural alternative that's good for you, that our body is actually built to consume. Most people don't know this, but our bodies have something called the ECS. And I'm not going to quiz anybody, but I'm like, hey, do you know what the ECS is? Most people are like, no, I've got my nervous system, I've got this system, my cardiovascular, respiratory system. The ECS is called the endocannabinoid system, and it's actually built to absorb cannabidiol, CBD, and it exists throughout our entire body. And this compound was discovered many, many years ago. It was actually first extracted. I can't remember the doctor's name, but it was first extracted back in 1963. And that's the first time they actually extracted this particular naturally occurring compound in the industrial hemp plant and, pulled it out of the plant. Let me actually start this, because I know with any audience I speak with, people are like, well, we're talking about hemp. Is this pot? Is this weed? Does this get me high? Am I, what are we talking about here? And no, it doesn't. It comes from the industrial hemp plant. And I know I'm going to give you kind of a long answer to your question.
No, this is good. This is my audience likes. They're used to long answers because
Okay. All right. So for it's interesting. The Controlled Substances Act of 1970 actually took the industrial hemp plant, which had been growing in the United States for hundreds of years, and they classified it as a Schedule I drug, and with marijuana, with cocaine, with heroin. So they bulked this amazing plant that does not get you high into all of these other, with all of these other drugs. That's another thing. I mean, that's another rabbit hole that we can go down as to why that occurred and why they took this amazing plant that is great for bioplastics, great for fabrics, yarns. I mean, for example, hemp clothing is probably some of the best clothing that you can put on your body. It's antimicrobial. It's got all sorts of things.
Wow.
And it just, I mean, this plant has so many different uses, like paper. I mean, I could go on and on and on, as well as medicinal benefits. And so what happened actually in 2018, Trump finalized signing the Farm Bill into existence here in the United States, which for the first time in I don't even know how many years, 60, 70 years, people farmers in the United States can now grow legally industrial hemp. And so that to some extent opened the door for companies like ours to be able to extract this compound from the plant and then put it into a usable format that people can consume, and there's different ways of consuming it: gummies, tinctures, salves and balms, rubs, for example. And I'm grateful because if that didn't happen, this plant would still be like held in captivity, which God put on the planet. I mean, God put hemp on the planet. That's not something that we created. These pills that are being created in a lab, God didn't make those. There might be parts of it that he did, but when
Yeah.
they tweak it all out and make all these changes, it's not the same. This is a naturally occurring substance that grows in that is part of this plant that happens to have like anti-inflammatory, has respiratory benefits, has all sorts of benefits. So again, I don't want to start naming off like ailments, because the truth is I've seen this particular compound work for so many different situations that people are having, that it's almost too many to list. It's like one of those things that works. I'm not going to say it works for everything, because that would be an overstatement, but I'll just say it works pretty darn well with a lot of things that people are experiencing. So if someone is experiencing pain or discomfort, or who knows what, or anxiety, or not sleeping well, or whatever they might be experiencing, this would be a worthy thing of reaching towards.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of it is like, how do I know what I'm getting, right? And that's something, I know you didn't ask that question, but that's
Yeah,
also
can I stop? I want to stop you for just a second, because I want to frame that question. I also just want to take a little break here and say, if you're just coming into the show, please share this, because people are telling me that they're not getting notifications. So please post this. If somebody could post a link in the Telegram, that would be great. Also, so this you're segueing into a question, but I want to let people know right now we're talking to a guest, Todd Falcone. He is a business coach, an entrepreneur, and he is helping me today. We're talking about specifically CBD, because we are launching my CBD line, and you're going to have an opportunity to purchase after the show. So one of the big questions that I have, and I hear this all the time, is people say, well, it's not regulated. So that's one thing. And then also there's always questions because of that about safety and efficacy. Now, I know one answer that I would have about things not being regulated. And that is, based on what we've seen out of the FDA in the last year and a half, and the people that are in bed with the FDA and who are having a determination over what's regulated and what's safe. I mean, look at the shot right now. The FDA has their hands in that. I'm actually not sure that I want them to have their hands in my CBD. Just my personal thoughts. But what can you share with us about that, to somebody who has an objection to saying, I don't know if it's safe, I don't know if it's regulated, and how do I know what's good and what's not when I go shopping for CBD? Those are three big questions.
Yeah, very valid questions, of course. I mean, first of all, I'll just say this. When you mentioned the FDA, sometimes I have people that come to me and they say, well, is your product FDA approved? And I'm like, well, I certainly hope not. I mean, so I think a lot of people think that just because the FDA puts their approval stamp on it, that it's good for you. I mean, I read an article a couple months ago that the FDA just approved genetically engineered salmon. So it's actually like fake salmon. Like I would never eat, like I would eat a salmon that I caught in the ocean or in the river, but something that was made in the lab. How are they approving that? I mean, so that again is something that is a very long conversation. So what's interesting is when the Farm Bill was signed into play, which enabled companies like ours to begin to manufacture CBD, anybody and everybody could get into that world. I mean, the truth is you can, and some of you have probably seen this, like your gas station, you're checking out, grabbing something at the gas station and there's CBD. But no, first of all, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully you would never buy gas station CBD. That's probably the worst place you'd ever buy it. You don't know what you're getting.
Sushi only works.
Gas station sushi. Yeah. So like here, for example, this is a bottle of our tincture, and on the back of every bottle, I don't know if you can see this in your camera, but there's a QR code. And so that QR code, so this is like in answering your question, like, how do I know what I'm getting? Is this any good? You can scan the QR code and it takes you to this particular batch, and you can see all of the lab testing. So every time that we manufacture a batch, that goes straight into a lab before it's sold, and it's tested for I won't even name all the stuff. It's just tested for, bad things that are not supposed to be in there. So you can see there, and you can see all the purity, you can see all the tests and all the, scientific names of stuff if you want, and realize, oh my gosh, this is super clean, well-produced CBD. And I think, the truth is there are a lot of companies that aren't that transparent. And they're not that transparent because they're not really using clean extraction methods. They're using, like a lot of people use, I don't want to get too scientific, but there's different ways that you can extract this compound from the plant. We happen to use what is considered the cleanest, best way of doing it, which is CO2 extracted. I won't get into the process because that doesn't really matter. But what it does mean is that it's just when you pull this out of the hemp, the industrial hemp plant, it's very, very, very pure, and it's very, very clean. And one of the other things I'll just mention is one thing in particular about the hemp plant. Unlike most plants, actually, is it doesn't really require pesticides or other things to grow because bugs just kind of don't like it. So it's not something that is typically sprayed with a bunch of stuff and a bunch of chemicals. And it's just the aroma of it keeps most bugs away from the plant. So we don't have to deal with that, from farm to actual, you having that available in a bottle or whatever, however you're consuming it. So I think that's a big part of it is obviously when you're purchasing CBD, you want to know that you're purchasing it from a reputable provider, somebody that actually cares. And I will say, because I've known the owners of this company for many, many years, and I know what we do on the back end with sourcing. Everything we do is U.S. farmed hemp. Everything's done in the right kinds of facilities. There's no GMOs, no fillers, no synthetics. There's none of that stuff in our product. And you can also rest well knowing, again, that you've got that QR code, and then you can see the exact test from that particular batch. And then the other thing I'll say lastly is we have with our CBD products, we have a 60-day unconditional money back guarantee. So that's pretty good. I mean, try going to the gas station, buying a bottle, and then taking it home and like, hey, I'd like to get my money back. They're like, no, you're not getting your money back. So you don't have any recourse. So that, and I can also say this, the result, I'll just say the results speak for themselves. And I don't want to sit here and rattle off all sorts of testimonials, but I can say this, people who have got something that they're troubled or struggling with, who are like, okay, I'm reaching for CBD as an alternative, and they start consuming it, they come back to you and they're like, oh my gosh, that has absolutely changed my life. I'll never be without it. And I don't know, maybe, what you're dealing with at the moment, but if you're dealing with something and you'd rather reach for something natural, this is a safe alternative. And I do want to answer a question, a concern that was in the comments from April. There are two types. When you're consuming CBD, you can consume what's called full spectrum CBD, and full spectrum has all the flavonoids and terpenes and all these great components in it. That particular, the full spectrum has a teeny tiny. It's actually, in order for it to be legal in the United States, it has to contain less than 0.03% THC, which THC, for those of you that are in the know, is the, when people are thinking about pot or marijuana, is the component that gets you high. Now, so a full spectrum has a tiny amount. Like I could drink 10 of these bottles. Literally, I would never drink 10 of the bottles because it's probably a lot of calories in terms of the oil, but drink 10 of the bottles and I would feel no different, and I wouldn't feel any kind of high or lack of clarity or anything like that. So I recommend this for people that, get drug tested at work, or they're part of the DO, they're drivers, truck drivers, or whatever, if they know that they get drug tested, that they probably should stay away from the full spectrum because it contains a teeny tiny amount. There's that chance that you would test positive. But we also have broad spectrum, and that is 0 THC. Like it has absolutely no THC. So you could consume that all the time, and you're not going to ever test positive.
Thank you for answering that. I also want to address another comment about the timing here. There seems to have been a miscommunication. You said that you didn't have time to answer a certain question. I want to clarify this. Todd is here very specifically to talk about this today. He happens to talk fast. He's not in a hurry. He has given us a lot of time. When he says that he doesn't have time or doesn't want to get into the weeds on a question, it's because the answer is a pretty deep answer that may go into an area of science that really isn't useful to most people. People can go to our CBD website and find that information. If you want to take a deeper dive, there's a lot of information on the website. Also, when you do scan the code, or if you go to the website to look at the products, there's an FAQ section. There's just a lot more information there. Our purpose here today is not to take a deep dive into the science of CBD. Our purpose here is really to introduce this product and to make it available to as many people as possible. So I just wanted to really clarify that, and thank you for being so gracious to be here today. I really appreciate you, and I know that our audience does as well. So
absolutely. And no, I'm in no rush. I've got all day with you. So I just think sometimes when we start talking in scientific language, it's like most people are like, I don't even understand the words that you use. So I think most people just want to know, is this good for me? And is this going to help me? And does it work?
Exactly. So, I have a little testimonial too. I just wanted to say that, you know, a lot of you guys know that I have an autoimmune condition. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is how helpful the superfoods are for that, because it's anti-inflammatory, it's alkaline, and that has just been a tremendous help to me. One of the things that I have continued to struggle with is pain. And I don't have a name for it. Some people, you know, label it. I try not to label stuff because I don't really want to own it. But you know, I don't want to have that label on myself. But one of the things that happens to me is that, you know, when I'm physically active, if I go to the gym, if I'm doing a project around the house, sometimes even just picking something up, I just have a hypersensitivity in my muscles. And so I experience pain from things that some people they would never even imagine that you could experience pain from. And some of you may have this experience. I mean, there's times when I pick up a glass or a pen or a pair of scissors, and there's something going on in like a nerve situation where it's like a shooting pain. Sometimes I have a harder time recovering from exercise that really would be considered moderate. But my muscles just seem to hold on to that pain and inflammation. Well, I had an experience a few weeks ago. I was doing some work in my house, and I was up and down a lot. And so by the time I went to bed, I could feel that I was going to be sore. And sure enough, you know, I was stretching, and then I remembered, wait a minute, I have my CBD. I'm going to take that before I go to bed. I really didn't have high expectations, to be honest. I don't, you know, I knew that I wasn't going to take an Advil or anything like that because I don't like taking those things. And so I went and got my CBD drops, and I took a full dropper, and it was like the lower strength. And honestly, the next morning I got up, and I mean, before I went to bed, I was sore enough that I would have laid off for a couple days and not been as active. I would have been stretching, maybe taking a warm bath. Again, longer recovery times than is normal. When I got up the next morning, I was amazed because I felt like I kind of forgot that I had that pain the night before. And then I remembered, wait, this is from the CBD. That pain that I had in the past would have really set me back for a couple of days was virtually not there. And to the point where I kind of forgot that I had gone to bed in pain. To me, that's life-changing. I mean, because honestly, sometimes, you know, my brain writes checks that my body can't cash. And that was one of those situations. But I do it a lot because I'm mentally, you know, very young and fit. And it's just that because of the autoimmune condition, you know, there's like this fight. And I think a lot of people have that experience that it's, you know, your body just kind of isn't cooperating with you for whatever reason. This is just, to me, it's amazing. And I've since gotten a few more of the products. I've gotten the higher strength drops. And it's just, to me, it's life-changing. And this is why I want people to know about it, because So many people are on pain medications. I apologize for the screaming. That's Barley George. He's having a moment. Um, but so many people are on medications to deal with these types of things. My mom was on anti-inflammatories for years. It actually destroyed her kidneys. The product that she was prescribed by her doctor, it turns out they took it off the market, and but not before her kidneys were in stage 3 failure. And so, anybody who's listening who is dealing with any kind of pain or inflammation or autoimmune conditions. Again, we're not going to get into very specific conditions. There are tons of testimonials out there on the Instagram, on the Facebook page of people telling about their experiences. We have to be so careful here. We don't want the broadcast to get shut down for sure. We're already under people's radar, of course, but that's my personal experience. And I'm very happy with what I have experienced, and I'm going to continue to use it. And somebody asked if Barley George took CBD. Yes, he does, because when he gets in these moments, he's highly intelligent, and he gets anxiety, and he's very interactive. And if he can't get my attention, he sort of spirals into more anxiety. Some of you may have pets like that. I mean, I kind of joke around. He's like the border collie of cats because they're really high intensity. And so I do give it to him, and it's almost instant how quickly it settles him down. He's still 100% functional. It's not drugging him. It's just taking the edge off. And that is something that I find amazing. I love it. He gets
Yeah.
mad at me when I give it to him, but then he's happy.
Some of the things that you're talking about, like I'll just use the word discomfort. I mean, if you're experiencing some type of discomfort and you're reaching for something, you're like, okay, this doesn't feel comfortable, right? It's, I'm in a state of discomfort, whatever that discomfort is. People are typically reaching for something. They're going to do something or they're going to reach for something. I would suggest, if you've never consumed CBD, that you reach for CBD and you give it a full opportunity to see what it can do for you. I can give, for example, I'm playing golf later this afternoon. One time I was last season, I got off the golf course and my hand was throbbing. And I actually, the last few holes, I could barely hit a golf ball. And I was sitting on my couch and I was just like, man, I don't know what's going on with my hand. It's not like I broke anything, but it was just, if I squeezed my knuckles together, there was this immense discomfort. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go use our relief cream. And so I rubbed that on there and I was just sitting there for a few minutes. And like 10 minutes later, I was like, wait, oh my gosh, it's gone. I mean, I was squeezing my knuckles and it was gone.
Okay, now I'm gonna get some of that. I haven't.
That stuff is amazing. So
Yeah.
And again, I can give you like I use the term discomfort. My mother-in-law who has arthritis, and that's been very, very helpful for her and her pain. My 85-year-old Church of Christ father-in-law, from retired military colonel from Oklahoma, has been consuming CBD for the last 3 years, and he doesn't sleep very good. But he takes the tincture and he sleeps like a baby. He still has to get up and use the restroom once a night, but not 3 times a night as an 84. And the older you get, you kind of realize, like, I got to get up and use the restroom.
Yeah.
And he sleeps great. My neighbor 2 doors down has had some pretty significant. I don't want to mention the specific deal, but it has to deal with the intestines. And 2 days after that, I came back to my wife and said, I need more of that. I've never felt better. So again, if you've never tried it, and the other thing is, what do you got to risk? You have nothing to risk, because the company, if you're not satisfied with it, they will give you your money back. You can say, look, I wasn't satisfied and I like my money back. I can tell you that pretty much never happens, because and the other part of it is, it has to be consistent usage. If you use, it's funny, like people use something once, like it didn't change my life. I'm like, wait a minute, how much did well, I did 2 drops one day. Well,
Yeah.
How long you've been dealing with the situation? Well, my whole life, or it's gotten worse. Well, give it time to get in there and do what it's meant to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that is kind of surprising sometimes. Where it happens with a lot of natural remedies. Oh, it didn't work, right? And one of the things that I've noticed with pharmaceuticals is that sometimes they're really designed to they're designed to do a quick masking of pain, for example, but it doesn't actually get at the root of the issue. And so you know, I think that obviously one of the things that we're wanting to focus on here is an overall lifestyle. As with anything, if you're going to, beat your body to a pulp and eat bad food and make poor lifestyle decisions, you're kind of setting yourself up for even more consequences. However, a lot of people are there, not by choice. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this particular line of thought, but either way, it's never too late to course correct. It's never too late to try something that gets you off of the medical industrial train, off of the pharmaceutical train, and into a more healthy lane. And that is something that I have been interested in for years. And the more I find, the more I discover, the happier I am that I have these alternatives. It's just been such a blessing to me to be able to have this. And I wish that my mom had this, because she had really debilitating arthritis, and she was in pain pretty much all the time. And if I had access to this, I think, I mean, I would have given it to her like by the bucket loads. Of course she would have loved it. And so that is just something that, I'm passionate about helping people to get access so that they can make different choices. And I believe that what we have here is that. And so I'm just so grateful that I can share it. I don't want to keep this to myself. Not at all. Now, I have another question for you. You mentioned that your father-in-law was Church of Christ, so he's a Christian. And sometimes Christians have a little bit of a block when it comes to medicinal plants, and whether that is ethical and moral. And so I wanted you to sort of address that. We don't need a sermon, but I just wanted to get your experience. I mean, I believe that the natural remedies that we have are, like you were saying, God given. Um, can you talk a little bit about that? Because a lot of my listeners are Christians, and I want to put their mind at ease about how this lines up with, living a pure life.
I'm not going to quote this exactly, but I know it's Genesis 1:11, and God brought forth and God brought the earth forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and God saw that it was good. It's something like that. And when I read that scripture, which is in the Old Testament, it's like, okay, to me, it's speaking like, hey, a plant like this, God wants us to consume. And so I think that, when you have something that's on the planet that you can consume in its natural form without having to be tweaked by a bunch of scientists and turned into something else, you're putting something in your body the way God intended it, right? It's the same thing with like taking a potato and turning it into a French fry. I don't think God intended you to cut it up, especially like a McDonald's French fry, put a bunch of other stuff in it, mostly not potato, maybe 1% potato, and then put it in this chemical format and fry it in a bunch of grease and with a bunch of salt on it. I mean, that plant, that in this case, the potato, was meant to be consumed as a whole food. So, I really look at CBD kind of like it is really a whole food. It's a plant that has been on this planet for many, many years. And I have, like, look, I'm a Christian. Most of my friends are Christians. My mother and father, I mean, my mother-in-law, she's up at 6:00 in the morning reading the Bible, eating her oatmeal and drinking her cranberry juice every morning. And what's interesting with the two of them, because neither of them, and this is like where I think where Christians kind of get caught up in, like, well, CBD, well, it has these leaves. It looks like pot. Pot, gets you high. It makes you feel different. Yeah. And they're like anti, which is fine. Anti, I don't want to be stoned, or whatever the terminology is. But you have to understand that this is not the same thing. This is not, you're not consuming something that alters your senses. And I had to give, a little bit of education to my 76-year-old mother-in-law, my 85-year-old father-in-law, because I mean, the guy's was in the military. It was an Air Force colonel. He was in the Air Force for over 30 years. The guy's never done a drug in his life, never touched anything, devout Christian. And but here's the thing, he was like not sleeping well. I was like, Joe, you need to give this stuff a shot. And same thing with his wife, and they were open because they had the discomfort and they didn't want to reach for something else. Because here's the other thing, and we haven't even mentioned this. Like, have you ever watched a commercial for a pharmaceutical? What's the last 30 seconds of the pharmaceutical? It's like, may cause instant death, heart tremors, da 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 da. It's like, oh my gosh, like, do you even? And then people are still taking that stuff, knowing that all of these crazy things can happen.
Yeah.
So,
and the sad thing is that, doctors, for one thing, doctors don't have any training in nutrition or nutraceuticals unless they pursue it. But the medical school track does not give them that. And that's something that's really important to keep in mind if somebody is going to their doctor. I've learned, and it really is, between a person and their doctor, but I have learned that my doctor is actually the last person that I'm going to ask about any natural supplement or food. It's basically a food product because they don't have training in nutrition. Now, that being said, everyone has to make, I'm going to give the disclaimer, everybody has to make their own decision. If you are on medications, if I were on medications, I might have a different conversation with my doctor whenever I introduce anything new into my body. Because the truth is, there are some foods that are contraindicated for some drugs. So I just want to give that disclaimer. I will say, though, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to nutraceuticals, which I would consider this a nutraceutical, meaning that it's a natural sort of medicinal type of product. The traditional medical school trained physicians and nurses and nurse practitioners, they don't have this mindset. They don't have the training. They just don't. And so, that's one of the reasons that we're getting so much pushback when it comes to just using preventives to prevent any virus. They don't have the training. And this is important to remember. Again, everybody has to make their own choice. And, I'm not telling anybody what to do or how to interact with your doctor. But my experience has been, it's usually a kind of disappointing, when you ask them about things like this. And so, and if they don't know the answer, they'll usually just tell you like, oh, it hasn't been studied or it's not regulated. That's doctor speak for, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm too proud to admit that I don't know. So,
yeah, it's true. Yeah. Occasionally you bump into a good doctor that knows their stuff. And in fact, I was on a show a couple of weeks ago, and the woman I was speaking with on the show, her doctor was the one that recommended CBD to her.
Wow, that's great.
Very unusual. Yeah, so it's good when you have somebody who's taken the time to get beyond just masking it, and let's see if we can, come up with something that's more natural solution to whatever the issue is.
Yeah. Well, I want my listeners to know, because people in the chat are saying that they want to try this. I'm going to put up the website here. I have a site that you can go to just to get my link to where you can purchase. Okay. So it's shopwithmarygrace.com. And what you're going to do is you're going to put in your name and your email address, and then you're going to check your email. You're going to get a return email that has a link where you can go and shop and purchase. The reason that I do it that way is so that you can do it whenever. You don't have to wait for me to email you because it's automated. And the only person that's going to get your information when you put your email and your name in is me. It's not going to a massive mailing list. So I want to put people's mind at ease there. Shopwithmarygrace.com. Most people are going to choose the preferred customer option when you buy. And that is because you save, it's about 25% off of retail. Now, you can be a retail customer. You can pay full price if you want. It doesn't matter. You still have access. But when you use my link, I actually get credit for that. So that's another way that you can support the show. I do make a commission on it. Now, a lot of you guys are looking for opportunities. You're looking for a no jab job and you want to be out of the rat race. And maybe you already love CBD and you're thinking, I wish I could sell this stuff. You actually can. So there's a link, the same link that I'm going to give you is going to direct you to where you can become an affiliate. And you can do that very easily. It's pretty straightforward when you get to the website. So just keep that in mind. Some of you may be wanting to do that, and it's definitely an opportunity. You can reach out to me if you're interested in doing that, and you would just email me info@marygracemedia.com to do that. So again, go to shopwithmarygrace.com to purchase. There's no obligation. I'm giving this to you as an opportunity. And I want to tell you, I want to tell you a little bit about some of the products I've been using that I love. Did you want to add anything, Todd, about the purchasing process before I shift over to just showing people some of the products?
Yeah, just briefly. So when you go there and you shop, you're going to see, and she's about to talk about it, you're going to see the tinctures and the soft gels. I think April was talking about taking curcumin. We actually have a CBD plus curcumin, which is great. So you're getting CBD and curcumin in a soft gel. There are topicals. There are dog treats. There's bath bombs. There's all sorts of different ways that you can consume CBD. So you go there, you shop, you figure out what you want to purchase, and then when you go to basically you're opening up the shopping cart to where you're going to make the purchase. It's going to say preferred customer, retail or affiliate. Retail customer, you're paying retail, which I don't think any of you want to pay retail. I would suggest you do preferred customer, and preferred customer basically gives you member benefits. You're not tied to any kind of commitment to be buying regularly. It doesn't cost you anything to be a preferred customer. The company just gives you a discount. And then if you choose affiliate, there's no fee. There's no fee to become an affiliate. That means that you have the ability, if you wanted to share this with somebody else, you could, and the company would, compensate you for it. So it doesn't cost you anything to become an affiliate, preferred customer, or retail. You just want to figure out what makes the most sense for you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think as a preferred customer, if you like the product and you want to later become an affiliate, you can do that, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So I definitely recommend everybody take a look at it. I wanted to show you. So I've been taking the soft gels. They have a soft gel that has melatonin, and I got to tell you, that's really helping me sleep. I'm a pretty good sleeper, but I have a hard time kind of winding down at night, and this helps me. So I'm going to show you guys. This is so small, right? It's very easy to take. I mean, you could almost take it without water. I have a pretty big gag reflex, and I love these soft gels because they're super easy to take and they're really easy to digest. And then the tinctures, I want to show you this. One time somebody showed me some CBD that they got and they opened the bottle. And I mean, the smell was just like it knocked me over. It was just weird. And but this is such a beautiful tincture. I want to show you this. It's like spun gold. I love it. Look how pretty it is. Isn't that amazing? This is the one I give Barley George. And you can get it with flavors. You can also get it in different strengths. There's a 500, there's a 700, and there's a 1500. And so, if you determine really what's going to work best for you. But I've been really, really happy with this. I mean, I'll never not have CBD in my repertoire again. I'm gonna be ordering the topicals. I'm not a coffee drinker, but we do have a CBD infused coffee. Do you drink that? He's
Right here. In fact, I'm taking a CBD with curcumin and a CBD Vitality with vitamin D right now, and it's just
yeah. The Vitality actually has a vitamin D in it. So if you're wanting to add extra D to your regimen, there's the D, and then there's a coffee berry extract. And I take this one in the morning. I think it's supposed to give you a little bit of an extra oomph. I don't know.
yeah, and it helps me with like just it feels if I have any kind of brain fog, all of a sudden it's like whoop, and the focus is there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would just say experiment, and, one of the things you said is that you were telling me about your neighbor who, tried it and then came back 2 days later for more. The thing about this that I love is that It really is. It's a sustainable product. Like you're not going to have you're not going to have to like stop taking it because of side effects or anything like that. Like what happened to my mom with those medications she was taking that messed up her kidneys. It's a plant based extracted product that is brought to you in a way that's you know, very easily assimilated into your body. And that's just that I love that. I love knowing that there's not going to be fallout from what I'm putting in my body. And that's just so, so important. And I want to talk about the topicals too. I haven't used those yet, but I don't know if people know that, the skin is your biggest organ. And when you're taking a product and you're rubbing it onto your skin, there's certain areas of your skin that are even more strategic, but the skin absorbs these things really rapidly. And so that's, something to consider as well, especially if you don't like taking, eating or drinking things. Even just putting something onto your skin, like on the inside of your wrist, around your lymph nodes, things like that. That's another way to deliver that into your body. So I'm just loving it. I'm loving all the options. It's just fantastic. I love it. Um, uh, Lisa on YouTube is saying it seems cumulative as well. Is that true, Todd? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if you're taking it consistently over time, it definitely has a lasting and longer impact for sure. For
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I wanted to bring up one more thing because one of the things I love about our CBD store is that it's actually a gateway to other stores. And this is something that I've never seen before in the industry. With our superfood store, I love it because we have access to so many superfoods. But when you go to that website, that's it, that's what you're buying. With this, when you get onto our CBD store, you're actually going to see symbols for lots of other brands. It's actually called the House of Brands. You're going to have access to shopping for a multitude of other products, and you put them all in your cart and you check out in one cart, which I love. And I forgot to mention also that everything you're getting is American made. This is an American company. So we're not dealing with supply chain issues. Your stuff isn't sitting in a ship off the coast of California. It's not being produced in a sweatshop over in Asia somewhere. This is an American company, and the products and the materials that you're using that you're getting are from sustainably sourced uh, places, which I love, ethically and sustainably sourced. Am I right about that?
You
Yeah.
are correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that I know that a lot of people value that. So when you go to shopwithmarygrace.com, you're going to check your email, make sure you check your junk mail. You're going to also get a link to the website so that you can go and shop for CBD, and then you can shop for other stuff. There's a clothing line that is it's hemp, organic cotton, what else? Recycled materials. It's amazing, and I haven't tried it yet. It's like I'm just gearing up because everything is new. You use the t-shirts, right?
Yeah, I do. It's the most comfortable T-shirt that I've ever worn in my life. So
Yeah.
that clothing line is primarily, and there's sustainability built into that entire clothing line: hemp and other fabrics and other yarns that are made out of recycled bottles and good
Okay.
for the environment, all that good stuff. And they're just amazingly comfortable.
So really, when you go to the CBD site, you're just getting this a gateway to so many things. You could do all your Christmas shopping on that site, on those sites. And I mean, I definitely recommend it. I've been impressed with the shipping times too. It's typically for me, I'm on the East Coast. Everything is coming out of Nevada, right? I'm getting my products within a week, which is fantastic. I'm very happy about that. There's the other thing I haven't even tried yet. We have essential oils. There's just a bunch. There's a lot of stuff to take a look at, guys. I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to. I don't want to get people distracted. But definitely take a look and, take advantage of the fact that you can buy everything all in one cart and one checkout. I just absolutely love this concept, and maybe at some point we'll be featuring some of those different stores. Uh, what else did I wanna say? Go to shopwithmarygrace.com to purchase. Does anybody in the chat, have a question or a comment? I think we're gonna wrap this up here. I'm gonna stay on air, but in just a minute, we're gonna say goodbye to Todd. Todd, is there anything else you wanted to add? And is there anybody in the comments who has any questions about this?
I don't know that I have anything to add. I would just reiterate the point that you don't have anything to risk. And I think that's a beautiful thing when you have a company that stands behind what they're putting out in the marketplace. And there are many companies that don't. We do. And so if you have something that you're struggling with and you're like, man, I'd really like to try this stuff. Well, try it and see how it works for you. And if you feel like you didn't enjoy the experience, company has no problem refunding your money. So
That's great.
it's like a no risk trial, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But I think you have everything to gain. And I think especially if you're dealing with something, April just asked a question, what strength should I use for pain relief? I would say that's subjective. That's based on how deep you feel like your pain is. If it's, on a scale, if it's a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, honestly, I'd probably say get to 1500.
Yeah.
If you're, 6 or 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, the 750. If you're 3 to 5, I'd probably go with the 500. And just so you know what that means is that's like, so a 500 milligram bottle of CBD, like this is a 750. That's how many milligrams of CBD. She's got the 1500. I got the 750 in my hand. That's how many are in the entire bottle. And then I typically, and I would say this for somebody who's never consumed it, I would say maybe do a few drops in the morning and a few drops at night. I take the 1500. I can do a full dropper in the morning and a full dropper at night, no problem. But I've also been consuming CBD for a long period of time. So, but again, April, that's how I would kind of gauge, what your pain is. You're the only one that can describe that pain. But if it's really significant, you're like, I want this stuff to go away, I would probably start with a higher strength.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. The other thing too that I mean, everybody's body is different. So with anything, if I'm trying something, I'm going to go a little bit slow at first, especially if you find that maybe you just need a few drops of the higher strength, then great. It's going to last longer. And that's great. And for people, speaking of lasting longer, for people who are busy, for people who are really busy, you can just do an automatic order every month. You can just set it and have it come every month. If you're traveling, if you have a busy whatever. I mean, if you forget and you don't want to run out, that's a great way to do it. I love it. And so I try to automate as many things as possible. But I think that's it for now. I really thank you so much, Todd, for coming on. I really so appreciate your time and your expertise. And it looks like I don't think we have any more questions right now. I'm probably going to get questions by email, to be honest. People are going to come back and watch the replay and they're going to have questions. But the website is really good, guys. There's a lot of information on the website. There's a Q&A section. There's great information there. So when you go to shopwithmarygrace.com, again, you're going to put in your name and email. You're going to get a reply in your email inbox with a link to the website. Okay, I don't post the website here for different reasons, especially because YouTube hates external links, Facebook hates external links. So this is the way we do it. And I really just, again, I just want to thank you. I wish you a very Merry Christmas, and I'm sure we'll be talking before that. And to my audience, please stay on because I am going to do a little bit more talking, and then I'll come back for a show tomorrow, but I'm not going to end the show. We're just going to say goodbye to Todd. So thank you again. And this is Todd saying goodbye. And everybody else, I will be right back after I click a few things here. And thanks again, Todd. Take care.
Thanks, Mary Grace. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, there we go. So I hope that was helpful. Everybody, thank you for being here, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more. It looks like our numbers are pretty low right now. Who knows why? But I wanted to just touch base on a couple of things. Yeah, so thank you guys in the chat for your interaction on this. I am going to be back tomorrow for a show at 1 o'clock Eastern, and I'll go into more depth about some of the things that are going on in the news, some of the issues that are coming up. But I wanted to talk quickly about the case that's before the Supreme Court right now. This is I haven't even gotten an update. Let me just log on here and see if there's an update. Uh, um, so yeah, Wanda Alger put out a statement, but the case is Dobbs versus Jackson Williams Health. And I was listening to the opening arguments on this. Let me just give you the gist about what's going on here. Uh, um, the gist of this is that the case is being brought before the Supreme Court, and the goal of the, I guess, the plaintiffs who are bringing the case, is that what they call it? I don't know if they call it that in the Supreme Court, but what they're asking for is for the Supreme Court to make a decision that would give states and the people the right to make decisions about abortion in this country. That's the really simplified explanation, and that is what they're trying to do. And I was listening to the arguments, and I want to go back and listen again because I want to talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. I hope that I can get a replay. I had to stop in the middle to take my dad out somewhere, but I really want to. But I really want to. I really want to delve into it a little bit more because this is so important. It's vitally important that people understand what's at stake here. I did get to listen to part of the argument of the opposing counsel, the people that don't want the Supreme Court to grant this request. Again, I don't know all the legal terms, but it was very interesting to listen to the woman. I don't know the attorney's name. One of the things that's difficult when you're listening or watching a case is that they don't announce, okay, this is so and so, right? They just they call them and then the person starts talking. So I don't have the name in front of me, but it was very interesting because the woman, the attorney, started arguing. She was actually arguing the merits of abortion. She wasn't even arguing the merits of the case, which is to put these decisions back into the hands of the states and the people, which I thought was very interesting. And then I also listened to a little bit of the commentary of Justice Sotomayor, who I believe is an activist, a pretty far left activist. And it was very telling listening to her questions. They weren't really questions. She was really lecturing the attorney, the pro-life attorney, on the merits of abortion and on the hardship that this would put on women. And I was really stricken by going back to the attorney that was arguing against this, right? This woman, it was very interesting because she was trying to argue that pregnancy is a hardship and that it places an undue hardship on she was saying people. Actually, it's women. Women get pregnant. So let's just be clear about that. But that it places an undue hardship on a woman to carry a baby to full term, to give birth. She wasn't even, and of course she was bringing in the argument that, poor people shouldn't have babies. It's very elitist kind of argument, but the thing that I thought was very interesting was that she was painting pregnant women as victims, like all pregnant women. She wasn't differentiating. She wasn't saying, in the rare instance that somebody gets pregnant from being raped, they're faced with, quote, the burden of pregnancy. She was describing pregnancy as a condition that is forced upon a woman, and that because of that, she was using that to base she was basing her argument for abortion on the notion that women don't have any choice about whether they're pregnant or whether they carry a baby to term. It was very interesting. And I'm thinking, okay, do you not understand basic biology? That it's 100% absolutely a choice for a woman to have sex, to engage in intercourse, and to have the potential of getting pregnant. That's literally what her body is designed to do. And so for an attorney with the level of education I expect this person has, who's arguing a case before the Supreme Court, even to argue that pregnancy is a forced condition, that's pretty shocking that somebody would bring that argument before the Supreme Court. But and I don't know if that's what she believes deeply, but doesn't that strike you as very odd? And so, you know, I just I just think that, yeah, I mean, there's nuances to it. However, the point is that it's another person. And the thing that I find in that argument that falls so far short of any logic is that this attorney was arguing for the bodily autonomy of the woman, who, in her mind, is a victim, and for whom pregnancy is a danger, not just an inconvenience, but she was trying to paint it as a danger, and a condition that should be eradicated at all costs. There was no mention whatsoever about the bodily autonomy of the person that was going to be aborted. And of course, that is one of the lines of hypocrisy that we see over and over. And the other thing that I thought was very interesting with this attorney who was arguing for bodily autonomy, I I would like to ask that attorney her stance on vaccination, on forced vaccination. It'd be very interesting to see what she has to say about that topic, because we've seen a whole lot of hypocrisy there, haven't we? I wouldn't be surprised if she said, "Oh, that's a different story." Well, how? How is that a different story? How is it different for an individual to make a decision? It actually, her argument for bodily autonomy and against somebody being forced to go through with something, it actually holds a lot of water with a vaccination. It's way more relevant to vaccination than it is to pregnancy, because let's face it, pregnancy is a choice. It's, people can say, oh, we were on birth control, we got pregnant. I get that, but the decision to do the act that leads to pregnancy is most of the time a choice. So those are just some observations that I had. And, and it's not a simple, it's not a simple conversation. There's a lot of pain around this, a lot of pain from people who have had abortion. And I know that this is bringing that up to people. And I'm not in any way trying to bring up old wounds. I do encourage you, if that is an issue, if there's something that you're dealing with pain from, even if a man, men experience the pain of abortion as well, because in many cases their child was aborted against their wishes, against their will, and sometimes without their knowledge. And so let's not forget that, and let's just remain in prayer during this this whole situation. This is a really pivotal situation, because what the plaintiffs are arguing here is that the decisions for abortion laws be put back into the state. So it's really a states' rights issue, and to a point, it's a personal issue. It's an issue that really should be decided by the people. It never should have been made the law of the land by the Supreme Court. And the people, they do have blood on their hands, and so the way that they decide today is really it's really pivotal. It's pivotal on a national, personal, physical level, but also in the spirit realm, because the decisions that they're making are either pro life or anti life. There's really no gray area. And so please just keep that in your prayers. So um, I think I'm running into the next hour here. It's after 2, and I want to I want to get going, but I did want to just bring that up. There's a lot going on in the news that is and isn't being talked about. The Epstein case, the Ghislaine Maxwell case, as it were. There's a lot happening, I think, behind the scenes. So be in prayer. Just be in a place of prayer and just seeking the Lord, because there's a lot happening in the atmosphere, in the world, politically. There are people who are really, really suffering, and because of decisions that are being made by people who never, ever, ever should have been in office. So please just keep your neighbor, keep the people in other countries in prayer. We're seeing some big victories here in America in the courts, and I'm hopeful. I mean, my hope is in the Lord. So, um, uh, so that's always where our hope lies. Okay, so keep the main thing, and don't forget, if you do want to get CBD, go to shopwithmarygrace.com. If you have any questions or comments, please message me, info@marygracemedia.com. And as always, you are welcome to get a promo code for superfoods, green organic superfoods. It's absolutely the best thing you can do during the holidays, is to give yourself a really good baseline of nutrition, so that when you do eat those other indulgences, it's not just a constant 24/7 lifestyle of that. You can actually have a balance, and the superfoods helps you to do that. So even if you're looking to just maintain weight, maybe even lose weight during the holidays, this is a really great. Info@marygracemedia.com. When you get a voucher from me, you're gonna save over $100 off of your superfoods purchase. I think that's it. I will be back tomorrow at 1 Eastern. Thank you again to everybody who is here. And thank you so much for all of your comments and participation in the chat today. I will see everybody tomorrow. Take care.